The next artist is someone who's new to me. However, she is not new to Karen, and Karen has given me a heads up. She's very exciting, so I'm very keen to hear what... She's smiling over there. I'm ready to hear what Rhonda has to talk to us about. Okay?
I made a deal with Tim. If he doesn't use the bell, I'll have an even more obnoxious thing that will sound out at 15 minutes and kill me. And we'll both agree when I actually press the button. Okay. Is it now? Thanks so much for having me here. I'm going to have to do this because I'm really short. When I was flying in yesterday, I looked down. This is as far north as I've ever been in my life. And I was wondering whose country it was down beneath me. And I got out at the airport and I walked through the doors and I'm expecting to see a sign that says, "You're on this country." And I got nothing. And I got in a cab, the taxi. And I said to the gentleman who was in there, what country is this? And he goes, "Oh, love, this is coal country." And okay. But I came in here and I learned that it's Yui country. And I'd like to pay my respects to all of the traditional owners of this land that I have the great privilege of being on. I come from Sam's Creek, Cobargo, far south coast, New South Wales. That country is Yuin country, and more specifically where I am, it's Deringans Yuin country. So everything that I'm going to be talking about today is related to where I come from. And often when we sit and we talk about practice, we also talk about where we come from artistically. So I come from a calligraphic and book art background. And when I say that, when it's not book art people, they do sort of look at you again, like was mentioned yesterday, they sort of look like this at you and go, "What does that mean?" And here I don't have to do that because you know what book arts is. But often with calligraphy, people don't know that. And I was so heartened just a few moments ago to hear someone mention the person whose work that I saw, Donald Jackson, that I went, yeah, I want to do that. That's what I want to be. I want to do that. But I dipped my toe in, yes, and I didn't ever get to meet him. I dipped my toe into some artistic institutions in the late 1980s. But I found that all of these were a little bit too far away from Sam's Creek, Cobargo, both in terms of geography and also who was community. I really wasn't sure of them. Did I hit my start to do this? Yeah, I'm good. And instead, when I was flicking through calligraphy books, I had found that calligraphy and the calligraphy people, when I got to meet them, when I left Sam's Creek and went to my first ever workshop, these were my people. This was my community. And I embraced them and they embraced me and I learned from them and I grew. And this is where my artistic practice really began. But like most of you, I'm pretty sure we all made books when we were kids, didn't we? We ripped out pieces of paper, we folded them, we put a rubber band or a piece around them. That was book. We're all book art people, really. I've never met anybody who's not. But in the calligraphy community, I got to meet some fantastic makers. And as a part of doing a diploma of Western calligraphy, yep, you could do these things in education institutions. We had the chance to do everything in those back in the 1980s, as we'd heard yesterday. I loved learning about how to do this stuff. And you learned associated crafts. So I learned paper marbling from the best paper marbler in Australia, and topography and bits of computer things like the early Macs, beautiful. And I learned bookmaking, bookbinding from New South Wales Bookbinders Guild, I think they were then, or the bookmakers. And this was early 1990s in Sydney. And that was the thing that stuck with me. I was really interested in books, what you could do with them, how you'd make them. How do these things go? What can you do with these things? What can I say with these things? And then, let me click. Oh, it works. Fabulous. In the 2000s, the internet arrived in Sam's Creek, Cobargo. And suddenly I had this connection out to the rest of the world. And not just lolcats and I has cheeseburger, but I had things where I learned about book art people. There were more people out there who made books, and they blogged about it. And I fortunately got to be communicating with this collection of people, and one of them was Sarah Bowen, who lived in Coffs Harbour, and she formed the Book Art Object group, collective. Just an idea, maybe we could make books that related to an idea or a passage of text. What you're seeing on the screen is the second Book Art Object collective where we made books in relation to a poem called Paper Wrestling. And why I've showed this one is this came up to one of the first ones of the Libris Awards. In the 2000 issues, I'm not very good with dates. But we remained friends, and this became another community that I went, yeah, these are my people. I like these people. You know, I can work collectively with these people. I made books then from the 1990s, more about book arts, until we got into those 2000s, and I'm blogging and I'm making books with other people, and we're working collectively in community. And it gave me the courage to actually go forward, and I went and did a Master of Visual Arts with Monash University. Well, when I say I went, I didn't. They come to me because I wasn't leaving Sam's Creek. But once a year, I would go down to Churchill in Victoria, and I would do my Master of Visual Arts. And then I was so inspired, I thought, I'll just keep doing this. And so I did a Master of Fine Arts straight away. And this is a picture from my graduating show in 2013, and it was called Codex Infinitum, the Infinite Book. And it was all about books. And I made books, and I unmade books, and I made pictures about books, and I made installations with books. And I thought about books, and I thought about knowledge, and I thought about place. And sometimes I thought a little bit more deconstructively than other people might think about books. And perhaps we should have put myself and Anik for 1 and 2, because I think the elements, I think we're sort of like capturing all of the elements. This work that I used to do, and I did quite a lot of book work that involved fire, in many respects ended up being a harbinger for what occurred in my little place of Sam's Creek, Cobargo. Because in New Year's Eve, 2019, and I'm just checking to make sure I'm on time, this was my town. This is the main street of Cobargo. We went to bed on the 30th, and on New Year's Eve we woke up, and my little village of 800 people, or 2,200 in the whole of the district, we lost 300 homes. So if you do the math, that's a lot of people affected. And we lost our main street, and we lost whole herds of animals, and we lost forests full of all of the creatures that lived in there. 300,000 hectares behind my home was gone. I was one of the lucky ones that didn't lose their home, because I have 2 teenagers. And a hardcore partner who got on the roof. But it does make you think, what can art do, Clyde? What can art do to change things? Well, in the first bit, I responded to that as many people do with book arts, and I thought, well, maybe it can help me, and I'll just do something that's quite therapeutic. So I made this artist book. All of our homes have been incinerated. Should I do that again? Let's do that again. Let's see if I can. Yes. And in 2020, this came up to the Libris. And it was fun, and it was good, and it was therapeutic, and I enjoyed doing it. But, what did it do to help my main street? Not a whole lot. And I wondered, could creative practice do anything useful in that sort of space? And I found myself working with my community and going to community meetings and more community meetings and community get-togethers, and how do you actually think about what you do on a main street? And I found myself the vice chairperson for the Cobargo Bushfire Resilience Centre. And they said, hey, Rhonda, like, you've written things, you've done a master's in that. Maybe you can write the grant and we can try and we'll do this. I went, oh, okay. And maybe you can also do the grant thing and we could do some projects with that. So I went, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. And as I was thinking about that, I thought, well, maybe there's actually a PhD in this where we think about what can creative practice do in the aftermath of disaster. So I wrote to the University of Canberra and said, hey, can I come and have a look at this? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'd like to give it a go. And at the same time, it was my job within my community to see if I could make this happen. So I wrote some of the stuff with community, not alone, and with lots of volunteers. But I was a person who was just mostly tasked to lead this. In leading, that mostly means that you listen and you involve people and you engage and you don't do it for them, you do it with them. Okay? And it's more than just collaboration, it's collective action, it's working together. And it took until March of last year for us to turn the sod. But this was the picture that I sent up when I had to do this for the PowerPoint. This is the Cobargo Bushfire Resilience Centre on the main street of Cobargo, that section you saw that was destroyed. This is it emerging. And you're thinking, why am I showing you this here? I mean, we took a dark turn. How do we get to here? Why are you doing this? Because if you go into the room in the Libris, you'll actually see the piece that I sent here as the person who's one of the tertiary people. And what I sent them was this. But I don't know what it looks like in there yet. Okay, because I sent it up in these boxes of components of things, and all of the components are actually all of the paperwork that is behind the Cobargo Bushfire Resilience Centre. It's the Royal Commissions and the inquests and the inquiries, and it's the QS reports about how to do this, and it's the architectural drawings, and it's the sub-consultants' reports. You have no idea how many sub-consultant reports you have to do anything. I think it was like 26. You know, like, what is the rock underneath here? I don't care, just let me build a building. Okay. And when I sent it up here, I didn't send it up with a picture of how you'd actually put it together. I sent it up with an instruction. Hey, curators, have at it. You can put this together any way you like. Would you like to stick it to the ceiling? You go for it. I don't care. I'm quite fine with that. Would you like to put it in a row? Yep, that's fine. With little groups, I'm happy with that too. You can do with this whatever you would like. And I'm sure that they sat there cursing my name, which is pretty much what my community does weekly. Bloody Rhonda! Freaking hell, she's got a freaking damn truck in the middle of the street with a concrete pump. Again, how much concrete do they need? You know, that's not mine, guys. That's next door with Rebuild Cobargo. Yeah, please. Yeah. But I'm intrigued to see what the curators did here, because in giving this over to them, in trusting them, in saying, we're not just necessarily partners or collaborators or any of those sorts of things. We're working collectively with this. But I'm giving over to you control and my trust, and whatever you do is cool with me. And what we do here, even if I'm not communicating with you, it's a part of what we're doing. And together, we're going to do more than what any of us could do individually. And that's something I learned all the way back with the calligraphy community. And it's something I definitely discovered with the Book Art Object Collective, that together we could do far more than I could ever do individually. Wait, so I don't make sure I make this, it's all good, it's not going to make an obnoxious noise at me. And that for me has been the most important part about my practice. And in book arts, I think as we go forward, if I were to think of anything, of some of the things I listened to yesterday about the challenges that are before us, the challenges that are before us all are much the same as what I've felt in Cobargo. We will find it within book arts, and together, collectively, we'd have far more interesting ideas than what we would have individually, including those gnarly questions about education and where we go forward. So I think collectively we have power, and I'm really excited about what that manifests as. And earlier this week, Monday, 30th of June 2025, exact last day of the BLERF, Bushfire Local Economic Recovery Funding grant deadline, the Cobargo Bushfire Resilience Centre principal construction was complete. So, and that's me up in the rafters, having to take a picture for New Idea, of all things. So that's now the big future question mark about what we can do with creative practice in that space. 17 seconds left. I'm done.
Do you want a break? A long break? No? Does anyone need to stand up, stretch? Bathroom break? Okay, 5-minute break.